the culture side of things. Earlier, before I came here, I just actually presided over an opening ceremony of one of Ministry of Commerce of Thailand's new executive program. We call it the CLMVT Plus. As you know, CLMVT is Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Thailand. This year we put a plus because we've run this course for executives for the last 3 years, and it's mainly to get all the Greater Mekong sub-regions, friends, to come together to foster network relationship, especially on the cross-border trade. This year we bring together the whole 10 ASEAN countries together to Thailand, and the theme this year happened to be the importance of the ASEAN branding, the identity. And obviously with many of you knowing that each of our 10 countries in ASEAN have very rich culture, rich identity, many diversities, but yet there are many similarities that can bring us together in a harmonious manner. The ASEAN community as a whole, I'm not sure you're aware, we do have an important arms or plank on the economics, but the other plank that equally as important, or for me more important, is the plank on the people, the culture. And that's the plank where you really bring the people together, because for me, ASEAN needs to grow up together, needs to find a common ground when it comes to negotiating trade deals together. We lack ASEAN leadership at the moment, unfortunately, partly maybe perhaps because of the political situation in various ASEAN countries. We used to have ASEAN leaders like Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who is now 93 years old and back as a Prime Minister in Malaysia. Any Malaysian yet? No Malaysia, right? No Malaysian is possible. But Dr. Mahathir was a very, very strong ASEAN leader who probably foster a strong culture and perhaps even a stance against some of the Western countries. Many of you here may not be born yet in 1997, or maybe you're born just about that time when we had the biggest financial crisis, and Thailand was the epicenter of that Asian financial crisis. We call it the Tom Yam Goong crisis. Tom Yam Goong, many of you I'm sure had tried the flavor when you were here. In 1997, when it started, the crisis, it had a domino effect across the whole region. And we were told, or we were asked politely or forcefully by the Americans. Any Americans here? Only one, oh, sorry. I was going to say, oops, I better not mention Americans, but I thought that would be one American.
I don't live in America.
No worries, I won't tease you too much. But we were, I was going to say, politely intervened by the Americans and supported through the World Bank, the IMF. For us to have an interesting package to rescue the country, we were asked to tighten our belt. We were asked to close 57, 59 financial institution. You probably didn't know all this because you still look very young, so you may not know this. But Lawrence Summers was your finance secretary at that time, secretary of Treasury at that time, and he and Bob Rubin flew into Thailand frequently to ask us to do a few things. I remember the event vividly because even though I was studying in the UK, it always forced me to find my first job in my life, which has nothing to do with economics or banking or anything. I was working in a Thai restaurant called the Blue Elephant in the UK. A great place to groom future leadership for sure, working in the restaurant. I say it half jokingly, but you'd be surprised. From that working in the Blue Elephant restaurant, being an assistant chef and being a waiter, I met my future business partner who led me to open a restaurant in Bangkok called the Four Seasons Restaurant. It's quite a famous roast duck restaurant in London. And we later now have 7 branches in Thailand. Any of you who live here should go and try. That's enough of my advert. but that lesson, that financial crisis taught us a big lesson. And it also happened to touch my family because my father, Dr. Supachai, at that time was a deputy prime minister and trade minister. And we felt, and he always tell me the story how the people or the authorities from World Bank, IMF were forcing us to do some of the things that were very, very not quite the right conducive measure. We were asked, besides closing down the financial institution, we were asked to also cut spending. We were asked to raise the VAT tax. We were asked also to sell down good assets. Some of them may be tough assets at that time, but at a haircut, a big loss. From 100 cents to $1, you sell maybe 1 cent, 2 cents. 5 sales to Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs. Some of those institutions later on were to be at the epicenter of the world financial crisis, the hamburger crisis 10 years ago. The Americans, again, no offense to you as an American, but often at that time we were told, and I was heard this in public saying that, do us what we tell you to do, don't do as we do it. And certainly the Americans didn't do what they told us to do. From after the Asian financial crisis, the way they solved their hamburger crisis, everything was exact opposite to the Asian financial crisis, i.e. they loosening their belt, they pump prime with the monetary policy through QE, quantitative easing, and through the fiscal policy, through a TARP program that you basically end up buying assets from the financial institution, whether it's bonds, stock market, intervene directly. That intervention had a positive effect near term to solve some of the economic issues, but as you see the growth at the moment being a difficult one, and you see the lingering on, and the after effect of having American leader at the moment with the President Donald Trump. Some of you may think, some Americans tease me, my American friend tease me, he's a Donald Duck, but he's the Donald Trump. He's a symptom of the crisis, he's not the cause of it, but that symptom of a lasting taste. The reason why I mention all this is because as a leader, as you grow up to be a leader, you will see the disparity in your life, the way you measure your success. Different countries have different cultures. You would appreciate how you would measure the KPI in terms of you aiming for the aim for your growth trajectory. Because the aim is important, and in order to have the aim, you need to right target. If your target is purely quantity, by that I mean, for example, GDP. Most countries say, I grow well because of gross domestic product, GDP. Of course, if you measure Thai GDP, or even American GDP, over the last 10 years, you'll be quite happy. But if you dig down deeper into the quality of growth, both in America term, in Thailand term, it's quite disappointing. And I can say this for my country, because the inequality, I'm sure, both in America and Thailand, has been greater, has been forging, wider.